Welcome to the Leadership Series, Lead With Me, sponsored by the San Antonio Manufacturers Association and Carlberg Consulting Group. Today, we're lucky to have Larry Anderson back with us, Tier 2, on a podcast that we started early on in the series 2 years ago. Back then, Larry talked a little bit about his career and how he got into manufacturing and how he got involved with lean manufacturing and how it helped him so much in growing his career beyond where it is today. I can remember, Larry, early on, you and I started at General Electric Company on the management training program, which really gave us a good start on basic skill set that we all need to be successful in manufacturing. You want to talk a little bit about that and why you picked GE to start with?
Well, it's interesting. I think about this the other day. This was a long time ago, and at the time that you and I joined GE, the economy wasn't particularly good.
But that's true.
That was true. And so General Electric and a couple of other companies provided opportunities. The training program that GE provided was the main thing that attracted me. Manufacturing management program, rotating program that allowed you to get experience and some training and so on. It's very interesting, though. I ended up in Louisville, Kentucky, at Major Appliance Business Group, and they had, in addition to the MMP program, they had an engineering development program.
That's correct.
Which I became involved in. So I actually graduated from both the MMP and the EDP program and stayed in Louisville because I liked Louisville. It was a southern location, and there were a lot of northern locations that had too much snow for a Texas boy.
And you were lucky to end up in Louisville because they had multiple businesses.
Yep.
Back then, GE was like IBM. You know what IBM stands for? I've been moved.
I've been moved, yes.
So typically on that program, we would rotate and go to another location every 2 to 3 years, which I did over my 13 years that I was with General Electric Company. But that gave you a good start on your career beyond GE. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, the training was great, and the opportunity to actually experience things was even better. So what I learned was that you basically had to see where the work was done, that both engineering and manufacturing was really a hands-on exercise.
Well, it's a little bit like John Shook's go and see that the Toyota system it has that we didn't even realize back then.
Right, we didn't even realize that was the lean thinking didn't exist at that point in time. But there were multiple examples of going to the shop floor and learning the difficulties that were created by the engineers when they did the design. So I've got lots of examples of that. Some of them pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, well, and I learned the same skill set. It's surprising. We really never worked together at General Electric Company, but we have a lot of the same stories, which was a great learning experience. It really helped catapult my career throughout.
Yep. Absolutely.
So with that, you ended up in multiple senior management positions in a number of companies throughout the United States.
Yep.
What did you learn that got you to that level?
Well, basically, that smaller companies had equal opportunities as big companies did. My wife and I had a desire to get back to Texas, where we grew up. So we decided to do that, which started a series of small company environments, moving around a bit, but not cross-country, just within the state. It's a big state, but still relatively limited travel. And each one of those positions reinforced the concept of being on the shop floor and seeing what the real work is. So there was a great opportunity to apply what we'd learned at General Electric. And it was interesting at the time, and I think still is, that many small organizations don't have the resources to learn about a lot about lean or to apply it. And so there was a great opportunity in a number of smaller organizations to do some good.
And they really need it. I know.
Yep.
Interesting. I went from a very large corporation, which is now L3 Harris, and I created a company when they went through a restructuring program called M2 Global.
Yep.
And I realized, looking in the mirror when I bought the company, who am I going to delegate all this stuff to? And it ended up being me.
Yep.
But, and I took that company to where it was today based on what I learned, not only through the jobs I had over the years beyond General Electric Company, but I also try to realize how you can take and scale that thing down to a small company, and all the tools in your toolbox can apply.
Yep.
You just need to get people engaged and teach them the tools, and it's amazing what they can do.
Yep, it is. Smaller companies, you tend to have an opportunity to work more directly with associates, which is really a great thing. I mean, at the end of the day, Lean is about growing individuals and allowing people to achieve what they're capable of. One of the things that I did early on was get involved with community colleges and teaching various workshops at community colleges. Because at the time, as we said, there have been multiple iterations of down economies, and in those days, during down economy, Lean was one of the bodies of knowledge that the state, the grant money, would pay for, so people could develop themselves. So there was a lot of experience with folks that didn't have nearly the opportunities that you and I had. To grow their career, and it was always it was a very good experience to work with them, both on the shop floor and in a training.
And a lot of people don't realize the majority of businesses in this country today are small businesses.
Yep, they are,
and they need the tools and they need the work. And the community college and programs that offer, like the Association of Manufacturing Excellence with their model for excellence manufacturing, or the Shingo Prize model, which we'll talk more about this in a little bit, are very important. And those can apply to a small business much like a big business. And if anything, smaller businesses really need to figure out how to apply that management model into their business. And I can speak for experience. Actually, I did that with my company, and it made us successful. I don't think we would have been around through all the ups and downs.
Right.
Not only 9/11, but then COVID and everything else we had to deal with. If we didn't have a management system that could get us through there with the tools that you need.
Very important.
So
very important.
So what were your successes?
It's very interesting. We there's so many stories to tell. Did a lot of work in reducing waste. Been in manufacturing of fractional horsepower motors, big tanks for the oil field, all kinds of. Actually made some Excelsior at one point in time. Most people don't know what Excelsior is. It's basically strands of wood that used to be used, or historically it's been used for packing of stuff before bubble wrap or that kind of stuff was
That's
created.
way before bubble wrap.
Way before,
You're
right.
dating yourself there.
Yeah, I am dating myself. But it became a product that was used for environmental control, basically.
That's true.
The Excelsior was put in tubes and would be put around a construction site so that there wouldn't be runoff from the construction site. All kinds of interesting things, and in every one of those examples, there were opportunities to streamline the processes and take waste out.
So you applied to 7 areas of waste then?
Well, yeah. That's and it's kind of interesting. Because you could think of Excelsior as waste, right? I mean,
it's true.
And so somebody somewhere along the line said, well, if we're cutting wood, we got all these wood strands left from the cutting process. So let's make something out of it. We'll just make it into packaging. So it's kind of an interesting story.
It's a little bit like Henry Ford did when making his Model Ts.
Exactly.
He tried to reuse even the box that came in, that the components came in and used it for the floorboards in the Model T.
Yep. Maybe a really interesting thing, I guess people might be interested in the Excelsior manufacturing. All of the equipment was extremely old, and so this particular operation I was in charge of had all of this equipment sitting in a warehouse. And equipment sitting in a warehouse is not a good thing for a lean person, but it was basically used to salvage parts because you couldn't get parts. And there were people had tried for years to create new equipment to create Excelsior and were not successful. So the manufacturers were using 100-year-old equipment and keeping it running with what they had back in the warehouse in the back. Interesting operation.
Well, kind of. Larry and I are both examiners for the Shingo Prize and also the Association of Manufacturing Excellence. Larry and I, with Bill Baker, who's also an examiner for both programs, had an opportunity to go to Goodyear Tire.
We did.
And they make the tires for NASCAR.
Yep.
Okay. And that factory is 100 years old.
Yes,
that's what made me think about that.
Yep,
and they still have some of that
very
equipment
similar.
Was running and keep. And it's interesting that each and all those tires are handmade.
Yep.
Yeah, very specialized, and each operator that does the final spin on those tires actually puts his name in the tires.
Mm-hmm.
So when that driver wins, they actually know who put the tires on the car. I mean, and it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
And then they get invited to the next race.
Yeah.
as an associate on the line, it's a big deal too.
Well, and that's you mentioned the Shingo Prize and the Excellence Award, the AME Excellence Award. That's maybe one of the most fulfilling activities of my career. Certainly, has been the opportunity to go to many organizations. In the context of doing an assessment, seeing where their gaps may be, and provide feedback to the operation so they can choose to do things differently if they would like to. And so somehow getting involved with that's another story, and probably similar to yours, particularly for the Shingo Prize. It's one of the things that by luck or happenstance has been one of the most fulfilling things in the time that I've been doing lean, and it continues to be. It's a lot of fun to go to sites. Actually got a call the other day from a site that I was at 2 years ago, because it turns out talking about things have changed in 2 years. There's been a few site visits, and it's always interesting what the feedback from the organizations are. Some of them are very accepting. Some of them are kind of wondering what you're talking about. And occasionally you get a site that doesn't necessarily like what you tell them. And this was an example of a site that didn't necessarily like what we told them. But I got a call the other day, and one of the gentlemen who was involved at the site said, you guys were right in what you told us. And it was a little bit, gratifying to have somebody come back after 2 years and say, yeah, we didn't necessarily see what you were telling us, but you were right in what you told us. And I say that because the models, the way that we do AME Excellence Award and Shingo Prize are very robust. And it's a very good system, both of them. And they are capable of providing a lot of insight to organizations, large and small, if they invite us in to take a look.
Yeah, and a number of them, they may not have met the criteria. I'm speaking of the AME Award right now. Multiple companies will take that feedback, and then if they're serious about it, will apply the feedback that we give them from that audit and reapply a year, 2 years later. And surprisingly enough, they meet the standard and they get recognized. The Shingo Prize has got 3 levels. It's a little different. They have the bronze, the silver, and the prize. So as you apply the principles, you get recognized at a certain level, which gives you an incentive to get to the next level and all the way up. A great model, a great way to place it. Both organizations have assessment tools that are online that you can take advantage of. The Shingo Prize and the AME. The AME Prize is called the Lean Sensei, as an example.
Yes.
You've got to be a member to get in and evaluate it, but it's a great assessment tool. The Shingo Prize has something similar to that online, which that you have to pay a slight fee to use that one. But they're great tools to get in and have your organization fill it out. What I have done in my organization, I would take a tool like that and give it to all my direct reports and have them fill out what they thought and how we scored. And it's some interesting feedback in what you get. Because a lot of times you find out you may think you're really well in something, but the people underneath you go, we got some issues there.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. That's even if you have a lot of interaction with folks on the shop floor, they will notice things that you won't notice as a leader of the organization. It's the reason we say to go to Gemba, as it's called, go to where the work is done. But even if you're consistent and if you're committed to doing that, you're not there all the time. And so it is, unless you're there all the time, it is difficult to see things that are happening, to see the patterns. So it's always good to talk with the associates on the shop floor. Something that fortunately I learned very early in GE career.
me too.
Yeah. Yep, it was good. GE was good to us
like,
in that context.
When I started off in the military, the first thing I learned as I moved up the chain of command is you really need to take a look at that platoon sergeant
Right.
and listen to him because he knows what you're doing.
Right.
You may be a little green and
Yep.
you're kind of off in left field and you don't know it.
Yep.
Fast forward, I know you're up here. We're both tomorrow
Yep.
are going to start off with a Shingo Institute work study program. This is a series that they do in multiple locations around the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 3-day event, and we're lucky to have really a great program here in San Antonio for the second year.
Mm-hmm.
It was so popular last year. We actually went to Caterpillar here in town and Continental, which makes a lot of sensing devices of anything on your car, radar sensings and everything else that's done right here in New Braunfels, Texas. And then we're over at Toyota with one of their suppliers, Millennial Steel. And it's interesting that they're all on a journey. And some of them may have their own model. A lot of them are using the Shingo model. And by the way, the Shingo model is pretty close to what Toyota does. So it's going to be a great experience because every time we do one of these things, it's amazing they take it to the next level even after 1 year.
Yep. Well, that's essence of continuous improvement.
And that's my point.
I'm really looking forward because there's as many places as I've been, there's places I haven't been like everybody else. Yeah. So it's going to be fun to go the next 3 days and see some of these organizations and how they work. And particularly Toyota. I've been to the Toyota facility. I think you both have been at the Toyota facility multiple times, and it's always good to go back and be able to look with additional experience and knowledge in other places that we've been, so that let's say specifically with the Shingo model, we can relate the Toyota practices to the principles, systems, and tools that are delineated in the model. So it'll be fun to put those things together even more than we're able to at this point.
You know, what's interesting, because I was on the advisory board for 17 years on the Shingo Prize, and then finally it was time to pass the baton to the next generation. And so I'm still very active with the organization. I'm an ambassador for it. If you go through their 6 training modules, you become an alumni, and I was early on that. If you were going to give somebody an advice to in this particular case, let's talk about the Shingo model.
Yep.
The recommendation on these 6 courses. Tell me why they should take these 6 courses.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is when the alumni program, which is for people that completed all 6 of the workshops, is not really that old. It's maybe 2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years ago, I was the first one through
what's
it. Yes,
changed in the 2
years. Yeah.
So when the alumni program was announced, they said, "Well, when you finish all 6 workshops, you get to be an alumni." And I asked the folks at the institute, said, "What happens if you have taught all 6 workshops?" And they kind of puzzled for a minute, and they said, "Well, I guess you're an alumni too." So, so we're alumni. So yeah, I teach all 6 of the workshops. The Discover is the first workshop, where it's an introduction to the principles and systems and tools that the model is based on. There are 10 of them, 10 principles, and organizations and individuals should go through at least Discover. I would suggest they go through all 6, to be honest, but at least Discover to get a perspective of how the concept of principles, systems, and tools fits in operational excellence. And I'll have to say, as a bit of historical perspective, that the current Shingo model with principles, systems, and tools is not the original model.
That's true.
The original model of the Shingo Prize was more tools-based, and it was discovered over time. 3 insights that are part of the Discover workshop, that organizations that only applied tools had some challenges in sustainability. So the model was basically looked at and studied with this information about sustainability, and the structure of the principles, systems, tools was developed, recognizing that there has to be principle-based management, principle-based leadership, so that you can develop the systems, so you can apply the tools, so that you can have excellent results sustainably over a long period of time. That's the reason for going and attending a Discover workshop, so that you can be introduced, if you haven't been, to that structure and to the power of the structure. And it's actually kind of amazing at this point in history that the structure of principles, systems, tools, and the application of it is not particularly widely known or utilized.
That's true.
Many organizations that we come across, whether it is AME Award, Shingo Award, many organizations are on a journey, a very good journey, but most everybody seems to start with tools. And the Shingo model would say, start with your principles.
Correct, principles. And the AME model is basically based on tools.
Yes, it is. We have incorporated in the AME model some concepts of systems.
That's
certainly as a result of people like you and me who participate in both of the activities, trying to favorably influence each of them. So AME Excellence Award, predominantly tools-based, but with an understanding that the systems around the tools are extremely important. So both of the models have grown over time so that they can contribute to sustainable success in organizations.
So what you're telling me, and which I know, but any company that wants to apply lean principles in their organization should basically take the Discover course right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
And as they mature, they can take the other 5 modules.
Yep. And then the second workshop, I do want to mention the second workshop, which is system design, which is actually the most recent workshop. It's kind of interesting. You'd think if we're talking about principles, systems, tools, that the structure would have been that. But the principles were emphasized in 3 workshops after the Discover workshop. And as people went through the workshops over a period of years, there was continuous feedback about what is a system, and it was a bit shocking that that question kept coming up. So the Institute said, well, I guess we better, the context of it for the Institute is put a stake in the ground. So we're going to give some definition of an operating system.
Systems, yeah.
And so if you take Discover, you get exposure to the context, principal systems tools. If you take the second workshop, system design, you have very hands-on opportunity to work on definition of your business systems. And the word intentional has become predominant or very prevalent in the system design discussion because most organizations, people that have gone through the workshop, have discovered that their systems are rather unintentional. They've just kind of grown over time, and having a particular definition of why you have that system seems to be an interesting conversation with people. Right? Well, I ask people, what is the aim? What is the purpose of this system you're talking about? And that seems to be a challenge for people to answer that question.
That's true. That's true.
Whether it's a system for recording your expenses, which I like to pick on because most people have expense reports occasionally. It's like, what is the aim of the expense report system? And most people have to think about that for a while.
It's a great program, great course, and the San Antonio Manufacturers Association identified a need in Texas, and looking into it and checking with the Shingo Institute, they really didn't have a facilitator to run these programs that was based in the state of Texas. Yep. So right now we are working with my group, Carlberg Consulting, to help facilitate having these courses available in Central Texas. So you'll be hearing more about that as that program rolls out later this year.
Yes.
Larry, talking about leadership, so I always end up with three questions.
Yep.
And the questions you picked this time were a little different than last time, so I'm going to ask you something different. What do you think the biggest misconception is on people about leadership?
That you can do it without great empathy for the people that you're leading. I see all kinds of books on leadership, and when you look at them, it's kind of like somebody has created a formula. If you do this and this and this, and I think in many of them, what's missed is that you have to have a genuine interest in developing the people that you're leading, right? So we can, in the short term, going back to Shingo thinking about sustainability, in the short term, we can lead by all different kinds of mechanisms, some of them not particularly good, but you can get people to move. But if you don't have empathy for people and have a genuine desire to develop them, it's probably not leadership, really. And I see people reading books all the time, which I think, for the most part, miss that part of what leadership is, right?
That's true.
It's like, even I was thinking about one earlier. There's a very good book about the gentleman who was on the submarine and was very successful in transforming a team into a highly functioning team. I think people read the book and say, oh, you go through these 6 steps. And it's like, well, maybe not so much.
And it's one thing to read about it, it's another thing to do it. That's for sure. The next question is, what's the most of the significant risk you've taken in your leadership journey, and how did it turn out?
Well, it's the going out on my own. Basically,
leap
right?
of faith. Tell me, I've done it.
You absolutely. We both have had that experience. So I think, as I mentioned earlier on, when you and I got out of school, things weren't great in the economy, and then there's been multiple iterations of things not being great. So during one of those times, I decided that I was going to launch off on my own and develop basically a consulting business, one man consulting business, and that was a pretty substantial risk at that point in time. Economy wasn't particularly good. Learned a lot and found out how to make things happen, which has filtered into leadership that I try to apply. As far as how it's worked out, I tell people it's been pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Right, because we're still here, we're having fun. We get to do what we want to do.
We're taking everything we learned over all those years and all those jobs and all the mistakes that we don't want to do again.
We don't want to do again.
Yeah, and you pass on that knowledge.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was referring to, the gentleman that called me. Said, "Hey, you were right." I'm thinking, well, people are still getting caught in traps.
Oh yeah. They can't see the forest for the trees.
Can't see the forest for the trees, and I have wondered a little bit about the process because it was associated with the Association for Manufacturing Excellence Award. So there's some thinking going on in my mind about the process, right? Why was it that this particular organization didn't look on the feedback favorably, right? We could probably change something. We ought to be adjusting our process also to try to get better results all the time. So, it's worked out pretty well.
It sure has. My last question, looking forward, what do you see as the greatest challenge for the next generation of leaders, and what advice can you give them? Yeah,
I think immediacy is the word that I think of. There's a lot of talk right now about AI and the desire for immediate answers to questions. And with AI and other technologies that are continuing to develop, you'll be able to get an answer to a question relatively quickly. I think the biggest challenge is having people stop and think a bit. To ponder is the word I love to use. Just take a step back or lean back in the chair and say, okay, what is really true here and what do we need to do? And it's consistent with the Shingo model, right? I tell people in the workshops, the 10 principles in the Shingo model are there as a sounding board. You can always take a step back and say, how am I doing against these 10 principles? And if you're not quite sure you're going to be achieving the principles, then maybe a different path or a different way of approaching the path would be good. But it requires some thinking. So immediate answers are not, that to me is the biggest risk that future leaders have.
Oh, I agree with that. And I just happen to have your latest book, The Shingo Model Series, Continuous Improvement by Larry Anderson, Dan Fleming, Bruce Hamilton, and Pat Waldwell.
Yes.
A great book, a great read. It's got a lot of great takeaways in it.
Yep, it is a series. So the Institute, Shingo Institute, asked various groups to write books about the dimensions of the Shingo model. We've got continuous improvement, have cultural enablers, and enterprise alignment. And this particular group was chosen to see what we could contribute in continuous improvement dimension. We had a lot of fun writing it, and I think there probably is some pretty good stuff in it.
You can get that on Amazon, right?
I think you can. Yeah.
That's where I bought this one.
You bought that one? Yeah, you can probably get it from the Shingo Institute also. But
what's interesting is one of the people that Bruce Hamilton.
Bruce Hamilton. Yep.
I'm getting ready to but I'm getting ready to interview him in one of my podcasts coming up this year, and he started off with a video on Toast Kaizen.
Yep.
So Bruce is called the Toast Guy.
The Toast Guy.
So you'll be hearing more about that coming up, and stay tuned. And you can get these through either GBMP on their website, www.org, or get them on Amazon.
You can get them on Amazon. And Bruce is also known as the old lean dude.
Oh, yeah.
The Toast Guy and the old lean dude. But when you when you have a chance to chat with him on the podcast, ask him who's the oldest, him or me, because I think I'm just a bit older than he is.
So he's just a kid then. Huh?
He's just a kid.
Okay. Well, Larry, I want to thank you so much for spending
thank you.
time with
It
me
was
today.
great fun.
This has been a great discussion. I had a lot of fun doing this. Here again, I'm Doug Carlberg. I'm the past chair of San Antonio Manufacturers Association and Carlberg Consulting. I thank you for taking the time to listen today, and stay tuned for the next one.